Good morning, everyone. Captains of industry, members of the press who are here today as well, Wall Street Journal and Reuters, fellow bankers and the like. It's an absolute honor and pleasure to welcome you here to today's Market Forum event. As some say, the event of the day after the night before. And what a great night it was with General Colin Powell. Today we have another general, so to speak. A 4-star General of Finance, Dr. Mohammed El-Erian, will be speaking here today. This morning he will discuss the challenge of finding and sustaining growth in the global economy. Now, before we dive into today's agenda, a brief note on the US economy. As you may know, a little over half an hour ago, the United States Department of Labor issued its latest non-farm payroll and unemployment data. Once again, these were strong figures. The US economy added 321,000 jobs, and the unemployment rate remained at 5.8%. Those numbers of jobs are the highest since January of 2012, an excellent result. Without a doubt, these data points will be carefully analyzed by the doves, hawks, bulls and bears of the Fed and well beyond. With respect to these figures, and some may argue in many more, the European economy is still lagging behind. No doubt Jan Lambrechts, our Global Head of Financial Markets Research, and perhaps Dr. Mohammed El-Erian will shed more light on the divergence of the global recovery later on. So, what else is to be expected this morning? I can assure you we won't bore you with the regression analysis of the valuation of the Bitcoin, nor will we perform Black-Scholes simulation runs of the Chinese renminbi, as I suspect a few of you might not be in the right frame of mind to have this type of engagement at this hour of the day. However, on a few occasions, we will ask you to put your brain to work, as we would like your input in a few quiz questions. I promise these questions are pretty simple. Unlike the tricky ones you probably were asked last week playing Trivial Pursuit after Thanksgiving dinner. So to summarize this morning's program, we'll start off with a video covering the highlights of the markets over the past 12 months. Followed, as I said, by a few quiz questions. Then we have our star-studded speaker lineup. Firstly, Jan Lambrechts, our Global Head of Financial Markets Research, will present a financial markets outlook. Next, an outlook on the commodity markets, which will be presented by Bill Cordingley, our Head of Food and Ag Research and Advisory here in New York. After that, we have a 15-minute break. And after the break, David Bassett will introduce you to our keynote speaker, Dr. Mohammed El-Erian, followed by some time for Q&A. And for those of you who need to do some Christmas shopping, we're looking to wrap things up just before 12. Now, let's start with a recap of 2014. Whoa, as we've just seen, there were some great highs, but unfortunately also some terrible lows. Let's hope we finish the year on a high. Let's move on to our quiz. As I said, we have a few quiz questions for you in mind. Like we did in previous years, we'll also show you how you have voted those years. So please have your clickers ready on your table. There will be 10 seconds to vote, so it should be enough, I may hope. You will be entertained during your voting with music. So let's start with our first question of today. What are your investment intentions in 2015? Stock buyback, build, maintain cash reserve, organic growth, new ventures, new markets, M&A or other? May I have your votes, please? Okay, interesting. Organic growth, almost on par with M&A. Let's see how that compares to the previous years. So keep that in mind, 29% organic growth. I would say M&A is moving on. It's leading kind of getting more interest moving forward. So organic growth is a little bit lower than last year. So it's promising to see how you're going to go about in your business next year. So let's keep that in mind. Moving on to the following question. Question number 2, please. What is the biggest factor affecting North American food and agribusiness in 2015? Consumer demand, trade tariffs and exchange rates, interest rates, cost of funds, policy regulation, geopolitical events, weather extreme volatility. Please, your votes. Let me see. Okay. Weather extremes and volatility. So you are not pretty confident that we are going to have a stable climate here in the US or in Canada or Mexico, I have to say. So how does that compare to what you thought about the other years? Well, clearly, it seems to be on everybody's mind, the weather, like we all have in Holland as well. We complain about the weather constantly. So, but that's an interesting topic, clearly to keep that in mind, obviously with the drought that we had a couple of years ago and with the other weather extremes that is here to stay. So it's clearly on your mind. It will continue to be a hot topic going forward. Like the question which we asked you last year was, when will the Fed commence tapering? So looking back in time, what happened over the last year? Most of you were actually right. They did start the first half of 2014. They announced it in December, and they finalized it in October this year. So you were pretty okay. So this year, we move on to another question for you, and we obviously going to show the question to you next year when you're back here. But as a segue into our next speaker, Jan Lambrechts, when will the Fed start raising interest rates? Please, your votes. Okay,